So the original threat that I was given was, there is this article that we need to disappear. And if it doesn't disappear, something else might disappear. By the way, you have a family. A Yakuza is a member of any organized crime group in Japan, some of them which date back to 1915. They are criminal organizations that pretend to be humanitarian organizations and derive their income from extortion, blackmail, drug dealing, and financial fraud. The Yakuza are very public in Japan. You have a magazine, published monthly, devoted to the activities of various Yakuza groups. Picture centerfolds of their meetings, of them coming out of things. There's articles written about who's been arrested and why. Their offices are listed. If you can go to the National Police Agency in Japan and look up the 23 top criminal groups, and it'll tell you where their headquarters are. Many politicians in Japan have had links to the Yakuza and still have links to the Yakuza. Japan's Liberal Democratic Party was founded with Yakuza money. There have been Yakuza ties, and those ties have not completely gone away. Since they're not really hidden, it's not so hard to get access to them. The other thing that made it easier for me to make acquaintances or sources within the Yakuza is that about 30% of the Yakuza are Korean. Because they're kind of like the Jews of Japan, it was kind of a nice entry, like, oh, you're not accepted in society, and here I am, I'm a Jew, you're a Korean, you and I were sort of on the same page. One of the cliches is that the Yakuza are constantly yelling and threatening people in your face like they are in the movies. That's not true. They're much more subtle, and they're much better dressed than you see them in the films. The scary ones and the real ones, they don't threaten you directly. They threaten you very obliquely, very quietly, so that they can't be arrested. And it's just as scary. It's actually more scary. There is a code of honor. Each group has its own rules and regulation. Cutting off your finger meant two reasons. One is you've screwed up very badly. Either you owe a lot of money, or you've done something that you shouldn't have done, or you've just been incredibly rude. And when you cut off your finger because of your own screw up, that's called a shiniyubi, which is a dead finger. You are weakening your sword hand. So you're basically making yourself weaker. That's the symbolic and physical meaning of it. If you cut off your finger because, let's say, your subordinate, your brother in the organization, or your underling has made a terrible faux pas, and you, to protect them, offer up your own finger, wrap it in a white towel and give it to the boss and say, please forgive my friend for his mistakes, then that is considered a noble thing, and that is called an ikiyubi, like a living finger. The one nice thing about cutting off your finger is that you can park in the handicapped parking lot, which is great when the parking spaces are hard to find. You may worship your boss, but you lose your temper once, and you either lose your finger, or you lose your life, or you kill the other guy. And that's how crazy that world is. The tattoos symbolize corporate branding. Some Yakuza have their organization branded in the middle of their chest. The other reason that the Yakuza get tattooed is it strikes fear into people when they see the tattoos. It shows that you're tough, that you can endure pain, and it also shows that you have money because it costs a lot of money. Yakuza equals tattoo in the Japanese mind. There are many places that will not let you use a public bath or a gym if you have tattoos. So even if you have a tattoo of Pikachu on your ass, you show up, you're still going to be treated like a Yakuza. Tadamasa Goto is one of the most powerful gangsters in Japan, and during the course of a long-term investigation, I discovered that in Los Angeles, he had managed to get a liver transplant by betraying his Yakuza associates, and when I tried to write about it, he put out a contract on me. So the original threat that I was given was, there is this article that we need to disappear, and if it doesn't disappear, something else might disappear. By the way, you have a family. You don't sleep very well, and you're really stressed. You keep waiting to sort of resolve the problem. During this period of time when I was under police protection, I was like, okay, what can I do? I hired a bodyguard who used to be a Yakuza boss himself, because I figured that would give me a certain layer of protection. And a very nice police officer told me the best way to solve this problem is to write about what he did, and then he will have problems much bigger than you. So that's what I did for the Washington Post, and then for the LA Times, and then even in a book in Japanese. And a combination of all these things was enough to get him kicked out of the Yakuza. And once he was out of power, my life was a lot better. From 2011 to the present, the number of Yakuza have seriously declined and they have been pushed out of the business world. I am in contact with people who retired. There are still some members who are in the organization, but in general, I try not to communicate with anyone who is a current member. People who've left the Yakuza, yes, sometimes we go drinking and talk about the good old days. And the cops that are on the case, fighting organized crime, I'm still friends with many of them. And many of them are actually very bored now because there's so few Yakuza and they haven't reduced the number of police officers, so they're really looking for something to do.